Welcome. It's time for another episode of To the Moon with Voxx, the place where psychic phenomena meet science and world culture. Live from the Devil's Tower, here we are once again. So, this is for the week of July 24th to next Saturday, July 31st. 2021, Annus Horribilis Deus.
Wait, hold on. Is that this horrible day in Latin?
Yeah, except I wanted to say part deux.
Part Deus.
But anyway, let's check out where the planets are today. So we just came out of the full moon in Aquarius at 1 degree Aquarius. And that explains why as soon as you see the full moon, I guarantee just look at your watch and within 10 seconds, you will be hearing the sirens. That's an old trick I learned from my dear friend, master astrologer Daniel Hernandez. Aka, the cosmic Danielle, used to say, you can tell when the planets are shifting. You will hear a siren. It is without fail, and especially also with the full moon. So we'll check this guy out, find out where the planets are, as if we didn't know. So that was the big thing, but there's been a lot of planetary changes recently. Everybody should have felt it. I guarantee that you did. But starting on July 21st, we had Venus entering Virgo. And that's going to make people more conscientious, more difficult to please, very kind of like very much amping up your OCD tendencies.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
So like Venusian energy has something to do, I guess in some way, as I understand it, Venus has something to do with the notion of vanity. I don't mean that in a negative way, but does Venus know she's beautiful is, I guess, my question.
Actually, that's not per se what it is, but let's look at the word vanity. It's very close to venity.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like move one. I just saw that based on what you just said. And vanity is not so much thinking that you're beautiful. It's like an OCD version of hoping that you're beautiful.
Sure, that makes sense. And then I read Virgo as being a bit sterile, a bit cold, a bit calculating. I don't know how true that is.
Well, the interesting thing is that makes sense to look at it that way because a lot of astrology over the years has made it seem like Virgo is like the prissy, mussy, fussy kind of anal retentive energy. Like example given, H.P. Lovecraft, the definitive Virgo.
Sure, Michael Jackson too, wasn't he?
Yes, fear of germs. Yeah, like germophobia, just name something. Like really intense, like boundaries around him, keeping everybody out and only a few people in. But Venus, Virgo, that's just going to make, like, again, the OCD tendencies that come with being Virgo. But here's what I found out by meditation. The actual word Virgo starts with the letters VIR. And in Latin, vir means father. And here we're being told Virgo is the virgin. Well, no. Basically, it's like the sacrificial maiden to the father.
The father being Capricorn. So is Virgo the mutable earth?
Yes, but it has nothing to do with Capricorn.
Oh, even though
the father essence comes from Vir, the father, which has nothing to do with Saturn.
Really? I thought Saturn was the father.
Well, not in this particular case. What he's showing is sexuality, showing that the virgin is about to get accessed by the older / father figure. But no, it's actually more mythological. Now, in the Crowley Thoth deck, my favorite tarot deck of all time, the 9th trump, which signifies the zodiacal sign of Virgo, you'll see the hermit in his left hand. He's holding a 6-pointed star, which is a symbol of the Father, the Son. But the cool thing is right behind him, he's being chased by the hounds of hell, the 3-headed dog Cerberus, which makes an implication to Hades, which makes an implication to Pluto, which makes an implication to Persephone, the virgin getting abducted by the old man. So this is how my mind works.
Well, I mean, I see it when you lay it out that way. Here's another bad joke I was going to say before you proceed. I was going to say Venus and Nambla.
In Ambla?
Nambla. You
What's
know,
Ambla?
the North American Man Boy Love Association, the Nambla.
Oh my
Do you don't know
God.
about this?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
Finally, one thing I don't know.
I can't believe it. So there's this organization in North America called NAMBLA, and it literally means North American Man Boy Love Association. If you Google this, you will be shocked and
Oh,
appalled to realize
excuse
that.
me. I have read about it. I just
Yeah,
didn't know the pseudonym. Oh my God.
yeah, because the joke was way funnier. It's way funnier if you immediately had drawn who I was. Anyway, I'll strike the whole crap from the record, but yeah, Venus and Nambla.
Well, in this case, it's not a man boy, it's man girl.
Sure.
Oh, I guess, you're going to have to find a new
Yeah.
an anagram for that. What would that be?
Man, girl.
Man, yeah.
Namgla.
Nangla. Nambla.
I mean, how depraved is humanity just in general that it would occur to them and they're a registered 501c3, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, are you kidding?
I'm not kidding at all. Their Wikipedia page is quite the treat to read.
Oh my Lord. Well, another strike for Venus and Virgo, because I want the listeners to understand that what the show is predicated on, when a person asks, hey, so Voxx, what's your next show going to be about? And the answer is, I don't know. I never know what the show's going to be about, which is the beauty of it, because all I have to do is look at the planets, describe what I know, and the topic fills in itself. So when we're talking about Venus and Virgo, how quickly we went into pedophilia and man-boy love association and Persephone and Hades and Cerberus and the Hermit. Who would have put all that together? Only, my psychotic mind.
Yeah, that's true. There is wisdom there. But I will ask, though, so this kind of Hades Plutonian type energy to me seems kind of dark and foreboding. How does it aspect against our country's chart, like what you talked about earlier? Does that directly impact things like critical infrastructure, services delivered, media events, things like that,
Well, let me look. Okay, let's look for a second. Let's check it out. I'm looking up astrotheme.com that has all the cool charts in it, even though all the published charts for the Foundation of America are incorrect that are published, because we actually have a different rising sign. But let's look at Sagittarius. We're going to go based on the published version. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? So let's see what it says. Where are you? All right. I think we should do the Declaration of Independence chart. To me, that says, what America is. Oh my God. I guess they did get the correct chart. Wow. So in this particular chart, it shows 8 degrees Sagittarius rising in the Declaration of Independence, which is really interesting. The 8th degree of Sagittarius is primarily associated with the idea of oppression. How weird is that? In the book, a wonderful book by Isidore Kosminski, wonderful astrologer who passed away a long time ago, the Sabian symbol, which means the psychic vision associated with that degree, is a horse pulling a load of chains up a hill, at the top of which is a great revolving wheel. And the transcription of that is, the 8th degree of Sagittarius denotes one who is limited, edged in, bound and restricted, whose way is paved with difficulties which threaten and torment. He is exposed to danger until after his 7th year. And if these are passed, he is faced with a narrow way. He might remember the old Talmudic maxim, which says, those whom God loves, he oppresses with suffering, and endeavor to grasp the purpose of his life. It is a symbol of oppression. It's almost like you're always on the brink of something great and something kind of tramples you down. But let's look for the Virgo aspect in the chart of the United States. And we will find, interestingly, that 25 degrees Virgo is at the midheaven of our country's chart. And it's also conjunct Neptune at 22 degrees Virgo. And that's what we become famous for, is 25 degrees Virgo and 22 degrees. And Neptune is there showing what it looks like we represent is an illusion of freedom. It's the illusion. And let's think about the karmic implications here. This entire country, on many levels, was first populated and continued to be populated by slaves or people that were trampled on. The people that came here from around the world came because they were trampled on and they were trying to get away from it. Yet they were born and bred with that inherent slave mentality. And look at what's going on right now. Everybody wants reparations. Everybody feels slighted and that they have suffered more than the other person. So what we've really done is poison an entire continent with slave mentality. That's really messed up.
And I can see exactly what you're saying, and you're right. This is the social large part of the social paradigm going on right now. I have a close friend that I talk to about this semi routinely. It comes up, and it's interesting that you said, there's interesting dichotomy between the bravery it took to get here and the slavery required to build the country. I don't quite get it. To come here to be free and then bring people in chains is a strange notion to me.
Well, yeah. And you know what? It is perfectly represented in this chart, which what I love about what we do is we're not planning to propagate a platform. We don't come with a political agenda.
No.
Not at all. And yet, as soon as we start describing what we know astrologically, it just describes itself. So when we see that our midheaven, what makes us famous, is 25 degrees Virgo, and this makes sense. It's a symbol of overcoming. It's like the idea, like, oh, look what we've accomplished.
That's fascinating because when conjunct Neptune, we have the illusion of overcoming, the illusion of accomplishment, right? Do I interpret it that way?
Yep, absolutely. And check this out. The 22 degree of Virgo, conjuncting it in Neptune, denotes artistic, sensuous nature. It's a symbol of seduction. So we seduce people here by saying, oh, look how free we are. Look how amazing we are. Oh, by the way, you're going to have to create everything with your blood, sweat, and tears. Oh, and we're only going to pay you minimum wage. Oh, and we're also going to put down no child labor laws. Oh, this went on for hundreds of years. Our whole country was built on slavery. Well, it's actually shown a little bit by the movement of the planets on July 19th, when Vesta, the planet that deals with Earth and things of the Earth, like physical work, entered Libra, the sign of justice, at 0 degrees. So we have that moving. Then the next 2 days later, Venus moved into Virgo. And then the next day, Sun went into Leo. And then on the next day, we had the full moon in Aquarius. So you have like the whammo blammo, idea where people are being thrown into these ways of thinking. Now, one thing to notice, and this might probably get some flack, and you can do with it what you will, but the whole slavery idea, especially in Africa, I think it's lost on many people that the rulers of the various African nations were also in on the slave trade of their own people.
Of course. No, that's an established historical fact. I don't think that should be removed from the conversation. It doesn't dilute the role of the West, but it certainly doesn't excuse the role of the tribal societies that allowed this to happen. And you see a kind of form of this in Afghanistan right now, and or recently, which is the U.S. would offer rewards for suspected insurgents, and what these rural people would do is they would get rid of their enemies by accusing them of being that and turning in their neighbor. Their neighbor stole their goat or whatever. They would turn in their neighbor as a terrorist, whether it was true or not, because they knew the Americans would take it at face value. They would receive a stipend for it, and they'd be rid of their problem. That happened more often than not.
That's very interesting. And I'll tell you something that's kind of disturbing. which is, I'm going to call it the Meghan Markle effect. And, you know, how shall I even say this? She's a person who's extremely calculated. This is a person who knows what they're doing at every moment of the day, completely controlling.
It's
Moved
like
into
it.
that whole situation with the royal family and then claims depression and sadness and suicidal thoughts. That's a whole thing. But where I'm going with this, she piggybacked on the actual movement of like non-bullying and psychologically impaired or fragile people. And she's jumping on that while her husband and the entire royal family were behind the entire psychiatric wellness community. So how is she sitting there saying that she didn't get, she was not allowed to have psychological treatment, which is absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And so what happens is that people that are really mentally ill, are being made fun of or like taken advantage of because here's this well-placed person who's now riding the wave of supposed, you know, mental instability. That woman is not mentally unstable. She's not depressed. She was dealing with a totally loaded cannon called Harry. He is psychologically messed up, and he has been. So she thought, okay, I'm going to manipulate this and use this for my own protection. And now he's ballistic, and he really has gone off the rails. So what I'm
Yeah.
saying here is people. So when we talk about this and we realize that there are people now, everybody's up in arms. Don't look at me cross-eyed, or I'm going to sue you, or you're bullying me. And these are people that are hiding behind real issues to deflect from their part in it. So when you're saying that this is also when you're talking about the people that are accusing their enemies, right? Falsely, which
Hmm.
again is against the Bible, thou shalt not bear false witness upon thy neighbor.
Well, these are, to be fair, these are Pashtunwali people, right? These are Afghan Pashtuns, and I don't necessarily think that they adhere to any Abrahamic biblical
No,
standard. I don't think so, but I do think them to be clever opportunists. And in this isolated instance, and this has been proven, many of the people that we have locked up in Guantanamo Bay were put there by jealous neighbors, angry neighbors,
that's
slighted.
exactly where I'm
Uh,
going with this. Yes,
oh
and it's
yeah,
going straight to cancel culture. That as soon as one person says one thing that offends you, all of a sudden you're pansexual, you're bigender, you're whatever the hell, you're making up names for yourself to hide behind that so nobody can touch you. And so therefore we completely lock ourselves out of the ability to have an actual intelligent conversation of meeting minds who actually don't even agree with each other, but we can't even talk about anything now because everything's behind a movement. Okay? It's just unbelievable. And if this isn't the first
yeah.
stages of fascism, I don't know what is, but this absolutely.
I'm inclined to agree. There's a bigger social wave happening underneath all this that reminds me, in my opinion, something of early 20th century Soviet.
Yeah,
Well, it wasn't the Soviet Union at the
absolutely.
time, but you know what I
Absolutely.
mean.
And I'm totally agreeing. Because when people say, all right, history, repeats, for those who do not pay attention, I'm saying history repeats anyway because
Yeah,
of this one trick. Because history never repeats itself the same way twice. And even if the basic idea that it does, it never shows up in the same outfit. It shows up
right.
under a disguise. And in this case, it's showing up in the disguise of personal freedom, and it's not. And this is this is the true conspiracy, I think, about the mask dilemma. Because people sense that there's a conspiracy. You can't fool everybody. There is a conspiracy, but it's not the one you're thinking. Okay, so you have a lot of intelligent people saying, I'm not going to get the vaccination. And look at what is happening with the Delta variant, the Lambda variant, and the Epsilon variant. The least they could do is put them in the correct order. Okay, but what I'm saying is people sense that there is a lie, but there are so many gaps, they can't fill them in. So instead, they just, decide to avoid the entire situation.
Yeah, there definitely seems like there's some kind of agenda. I'm not conspiracy minded for the
I'm not
most part,
either.
but it's very convenient that our federal government is pushing this on people. Our federal government is speaking about the possibility of tracking people who don't have vaccinations through their cell
Right?
phones. And, the leftward leaning folk, ironically, are becoming the ones that, when you say fascist, it reminds me something of Nazi Germany in a sense, which is as they call us Nazis, they're the ones saying, let me see your papers.
Yeah.
Let me see if you're vaccinated. I feel like the irony is lost on
That's
them.
because what they're
The
trying to do, and this is interesting. I spoke with the great Laurencio, my dear friend Larry Pines, world famous astrologer and mentor, and we were talking about this. And hold on, there was like a thought coming through, but it got hijacked. Oh, I know what it was. Um, the first news that was released about COVID-19 happened during the time astrologically when the moon was void of course, meaning in between signs. Now, there are great mysteries of history that happened during moon void of course times. Those are the cases like Jimmy Hoffa, little Madeline McCann, Jean-Benet Ramsey, all of the most baffling historical events that have happened during moon void, of course, remain a mystery because nothing can be found that's solid that you can stick to. And
That's
yeah, so
interesting.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say void, of course. You really are sending me down a mental rabbit hole with this one. So when you're talking about between signs, you're talking at literally the spot between 30 degrees Gemini and 1 degree Cancer, right? That line on the
Exactly.
wheel, lack of a better word, and
That's,
is
yeah. It's not exact degrees like that. It's not
okay.
0 and 30, but it's trackable. And people that want to find out more should contact me for charts that you can download to find out when those times are. In fact, all great successful businessmen and women plan a lot of their activities when the moon is actually within a sign and making positive aspects. Because what happened,
I would
yeah,
think you would.
like the great Nelson Rockefeller, one of the original tycoons in the last century, said millionaires don't believe in astrology. Billionaires do. And Ronald Reagan, Nancy Reagan, and not just them. Yeah. So when we get back to the idea of the
Yeah.
moon being void of course, the whole idea was that when that first article was written, it came out at a very nebulous time. Now let's think about this. These same really incredible people who happen to know these things or just intuitively act during these time frames are hiding the truth. And therefore, they can use that information and hide it from the people that want to know about it because of the timestamp on the information. So let's say a burglar decides to rob a person's house and they knew astrology and they planned it for the time the moon was void of course. And nobody could find the fingerprints, or they found the fingerprints, but they were smudged, or they found the DNA, but it wasn't usable, blah, blah, blah. These are ways that people can use that negativity for their own purposes. And when Larry told me that, I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And still to this day, nobody can say, did it start in Wuhan, except for Voxx the psychic, who, by the way, I could have made a lot of money, publishing about this, but it was so dangerous and politically explosive. I literally was hiding for like an entire year. Nobody could even find me, except for there was a couple of friends that I have that I was reporting to daily with voluminous recordings of the things that I predicted about this pandemic, when it started, how long it was going to last, including all the permutations that were going to happen, the entire 9 yards. I have all predicted and date and time stamped on a series of recordings. And all I know is that was the first thing I said to the person that I was explaining this to. And she didn't believe a word I said. And then I'd say, oh, and guess what? Oh, wait till you see what they're going to do in Beverly Hills. They're going to burn down Rodeo Drive. And she thought, no, they're not. Don't be stupid. And literally within 24 hours later, Rodeo Drive was in shambles. Everybody had broken all the windows, looted the places, the jewelry places, and it became one thing after the other. It was like the Keystone Cops, psychic.
I never thought I would see that day.
I didn't either.
Never. Having been there,
No. And I kept telling her
that's
this
a weird.
every freaking day. I was like, oh, and guess what else is going to happen? Oh, wait till it hits Australia. Oh, wait till it hits New Zealand. Oh, wait till it hits India. And then within 24 hours of anything that I said, it would be the headline. And I started to think, whoa,
So,
go ahead.
let me ask you then. I just want to briefly return to the void
Yeah.
of course thing. So, remember when I asked you, is this what's good about a square? And you said nothing. Well, what would be good about void of course? It doesn't seem like it's just an inherently negative aspect. It just seems like it's a mysterious
No, it
one.
is negative. It is negative. And
It
I
is
was
negative?
incorrect
Okay.
when I said there's nothing good about a square. The only good thing about a square is it's like, backing into the corner of a very sharp table. Right? What's good about that? Oh, you now know where the corner of the table is.
Yeah. Yeah, don't touch fire is
Yeah.
square energy, right? Because now you know
The
never to do
square,
it again.
it can make life so uncomfortable that you finally have to do something. So in those ways, it is good, but it's unpleasant. It's like getting your teeth cleaned. You need to do it. You don't want to
Yeah.
do it. It hurts like hell. You're glad that you did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
understood. Makes me feel a little bit better considering how square heavy, my personal chart is. I have 14 squares and it's just crazy. It's all squared to my midheaven and in my fifth house. And it's just like, ugh, please no. I don't feel particularly oppressed or
But
I don't feel too
like
square.
in the Hebrew alphabet, right? The letter A, Aleph, means ox goad. No, excuse me, it means ox, the letter A. Now, halfway through the 11th letter is Lamed, which is ox goad, Goad, meaning right in the middle of the alphabet, there's something that just pokes you in the side and says, yeah, let's keep on going.
Sure. Yeah. I always find this fascinating when we talk about the Hebrew alphabet, if I'm saying
Yeah.
the term correctly. It's always super fascinating because there is the letter, then there's the meaning of the letter or an energy ascribed to that letter. And I always found that fascinating. So 20 something years ago during your radio show, you brought up one time in passing, you were like, it occurs to me that thou, the number 6 in Hebrew is thou, and thou is the word for nail. And I was like, I guess that's cool. And you were like, yeah, but how many nails was Jesus crucified with? And I was like, 3. And you were like, see? I was like, is that 666?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
it is.
Yeah, but that really blew my mind. And it's not like the alphabet wasn't written before that happened. I bet it was.
Well,
It's just interesting for me to hear it put that
and check
way.
this out. When you're getting nailed to another person legally for marriage reason.
Yeah, I never forgot that vow story. I've told that story to, I think, 100 people.
So anyway, think of the letter vowel, okay, which equals 6. And what do you take when you're getting married to somebody, in effect, nailing yourself to that person? You take a vow.
Yeah, a little bit of
A little
wordplay
bit
here,
of
though.
wordplay, but I just
But
think
yeah,
that's really interesting. You're taking a vow. It's very interesting.
yeah.
And the sun,
And you pretty much are nailed to that
yeah,
person.
you get nailed to that person. First off, you're getting nailed, and then you're getting really nailed. And if you're
Yes.
Jesus, you're really getting nailed. And that's 666 right there.
That's just the craziest thing because it's not like they pre-planned that. That's just the way it worked out. That's just how it is. So, what about the other numbers? What is 1?
Well, that's Aleph. 1 equals, Aleph. Aleph equals 1. And if you add,
I thought Aleph was an angel.
well, no. If they decided to name
No?
an angel Aleph, it's because they were using a Hebrew Bible to get names for a character in a script, which is very familiar, which takes me off into another typical Voxx tangent. The bane to my existence, that freaking show, Supernatural.
Oh, I enjoyed the shit out of that show. I made it through 5 seasons of it before I started to
But
get
that's
tired of it.
because you don't have to deal with the fallout from the psychotic people that contact me trying to learn how to speak Enochian because they think it's cool. First off, it's incredibly difficult to speak it properly, and I will say right now, I do speak it fluently by heart. Okay, but these are kids that say, "Hey, how do you say you're my sex babe in Enochian?" I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. There's only enough words that were created and translated to mean angel, the right corner of the left tablet of fire, and, the 1,000 cups of vengeance of God or whatever. No, it's not a colloquial language. It's just like not. And so I got like 1,000 people joining my Enochian Discord server that all want to just chat in Enochian. And so my friend goes, "Oh, can I join your server?" And I'm like, "You know what, really, you don't want to join my server right now because it's full of a bunch of like high school kids that want to chat in Enochian. They don't want to learn how to do the magic. They don't even care. They just think it's cool." And I'm like,
Yeah, but that's one way to expose them to it. I can't hate the whole story
"No." But the
because now
problem is that you can't go forward with that because it demands a lot of time and dedication, and it just will not yield its fruits up to a casual passerby.
sure. But I would argue, to play devil's advocate here, I would argue that's one way to get the masses interested in something they would otherwise not be interested in. Maybe you get a handful of people that end up actually uh, being being able to tie themselves to the premise of Enochian. Is Enochian
Yeah,
magic
it's
as
ritual
well?
magic. It's Western ceremonial ritual magic based on a lot of different aspects of magic, but mostly psychism, which will take us into our next little Vox segue. But the thing is that if you lie to a person, you say, "Oh, yeah, you can learn this language." First off, it took me 10 years to really understand it and learn it. Okay. And another 40 years of literally speaking it every day, praying with it, doing rituals with it every single day for 40 years. And now I can kind of say, "Yeah, I kind of know that." So you're
Yeah,
just going to, um, you're going to attract people that have no real interest. And I hate to break it to you, but the angels, if you don't create a real bond with them, a real dedication and real genuine interest, you won't get a quote unquote result. And therefore you're going to kick it to the curb anyway. It's like when a person's doing candle magic. "Okay, I asked for a Maserati." "Well, the candle didn't work." "Okay, well, screw candle magic." It
right.
doesn't help. It just doesn't
Yeah.
help.
Yeah, I totally see what you're saying. Well, and people, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one. I'm a little out of my element on this topic, but I think people will try magic for the wrong reasons, and that's not going to get you anywhere. I don't believe that you can. And I remain convinced of this, whether I'm right or wrong. I don't think you can pray for something as obvious as money. I don't think you can conjure it out of nothing. I think you can maybe pray for the wisdom to grant you the ability to earn it, and conversely, maybe cast a spell that will enhance you in that regard as well. But as far as burning a green candle and winning the lottery, bullshit. No wonder people don't believe in it, because when they burn the green candle, money doesn't fall off the fucking
Well,
sky.
I have to say, it can, but most likely,
Sure, but anything can.
it will not. But here's the deal. I used to talk about this before because, as a teacher of magic and the occult, back in the day, people would come to like figure out how to do the candle burning and stuff. And I agree with what you're saying. Money isn't even real, first off. It's an idea. And so if you have a vehicle to run with that idea, then you can go places. But most stuff doesn't just literally fall from the sky. However, once in a while you might do a ritual and you did it wrong on the wrong day, you burned the wrong colored candle, and somehow you won a lawsuit. The problem with that is that you're going to think, "Oh, next time this occurs, I'll use that old way of doing things." and it may not work the second time.
Sure, because you didn't understand why it worked the first time. You just think
Right.
you did,
Exactly.
right? Is that what I'm getting from
Yeah.
it? So yeah, maybe you won the lawsuit, but that may or may not have anything to do with what you were wishing for when you
Now,
did
there's
the
a lot
spell.
of other really interesting corollaries with that, meaning that sometimes the thing is coming to you already, you're picking up a psychic vibe about it, and that instigates you to create a ritual and do it, and the next day it shows up. And you think ritual caused it, but technically an astrological aspect was behind the impetus for you to even do the magic. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? Now, getting
Right. But I so strongly agree with what you just said. I so strongly agree with it. I couldn't say it better. As far as intuiting something and kind of riding the wave, maybe then that inspires you to do the ritual, but it was already happening. I think that's more likely
Yeah,
than
I
not.
think so. And then here's the other thing. I have never met one single person, including myself, that ever got involved with magic for a pure, wonderful, positive reason. Never
Sure.
1 billion%. The only reason people get involved in magic is to get money or sex. Period. That's just like period. Okay. Now, what about revenge? What about other stuff? Well, it's all based in money and sex. So I used to say, when am I getting paid? When am I getting laid? Those are the two things people want to know from a tarot or divinatory reading. And my answer is really simple. You're going to get laid after you get paid because you're so stupid, you're probably going to have to pay for it. Because anybody who's doing magic to get laid, that's really showing you something right there. But people
Yeah.
contact me about this stuff all the time and I say, here's the best love spell I know. Do a love spell on yourself. Fall in love with yourself. And if you do a ritual and
Sure.
you realize that you can't stand yourself, then you're going, wait a minute, maybe nobody else can stand me either. Maybe you should work on this. Exactly. And if you have to do a spell to get somebody to love you, it's just saying everything.
Well, there's something about this that bugs me that I don't like, and it goes against this whole concept of free will, which I'm a firm believer of. I find it the hubris it would take to think that you are of a power in this universe where you would ever have the ability to influence someone. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I don't like it. This rubs me the wrong way. That your wishes for them. Let's say you want to get somebody to fall in love with you. Just the casual arrogance you would have to even think you would have the power to influence that via magic, when the magic you need to cast is going up to that person, talking to them, and being an interesting person. Probably there's your spell. You know, I don't like the thought that people can your hypothetical victim loses their agency over themselves by virtue of you casting the spell on them. I don't like it at all. There's something about that bugs me because why are you more important than them? Why are you stronger than them? Why are you more powerful than them? You guys should be on equal footing, hypothetically. I don't think you cast a spell. I can't believe me. I would try to have a spell to have Mila Kunis fall in love with me. I don't care what it costs. I don't care about the number of candles, or pixie dust. I would do whatever it took. And you know what? I know that that's not how it works. So if that doesn't work, why would that work for Joe trying to get Barbara to fall in love with him by burning the candle and praying to the east? I don't buy it.
Well, you're just screaming all the thoughts that I feel are correct. Now, I think this is going to be really helpful too. I just have a new fan on my Discord, I think it's my Goetia Discord. And this person asked me, I won't embarrass him by saying his name. He knows who he is. I'm not being derogatory towards him anyway. But he asked me about, love spells. Like, what about it? And do I recommend that? And should I say what I told him?
Oh yeah, go for it. It's fine. We're
Okay,
not naming him.
let's see. I gotta.
You know, there very well will be somebody in the audience with the same question. I wouldn't be surprised at all. They deserve an
Yeah.
answer as well as he does.
He goes, hi, sorry to bother you, but I have a question. Can Enochian magic, and I'm going to say any magic, but can Enochian magic be used to repair a relationship that ended between yourself and another person? And what is your view on that, if you don't mind? And I told him, in no uncertain terms, the answer to your question is yes and no. The reason being that magic only works on the magician. Despite what anyone else may tell you, this is a concept I am writing about in my latest book. And I said, I'll explain more fully. And then I wrote all this stuff, and then I realized it's so long that it needs its own chapter in a book. And I said, but for now,
Sure. I like the answer too. That puts me at peace a lot more than the thought that something I could do would influence somebody else, take away their agency to live their life unfettered by my desire. I don't like that. But as far as magic only working on the magician, I think I believe that 1,000,000%. Whatever it is that you wish for, you know.
but I will add on to that in a second. But the final part I wrote to him, I said, for now, suffice it to say that all caps, all love magic backfires. Hell of a statement, but I will elaborate soon. If you're considering doing it, leave it alone until I explain. I have a whole chapter dedicated to this. And I wrote so much, and I realized, wow, this is what my Discord is for really incredible people to write me all these questions. And I really have an answer for it. And I'm not making this stuff up. Now, if I may sidetrack here to one of the statements in the Book of the Law written by Iwas, that was channeled by Aleister Crowley, in the chapter 1 of the Book of the Law, in chapter 57, he says, invoke me under my stars. Love is the law, love under will. Nor let the fools mistake love, for there are love and love. There is the dove and there is the serpent. Choose ye well. What this is, just saying, you cannot force someone to love you. There's the dove,
Right.
and that comes to you. And then there's the serpent that's saying, screw you, motherfucker. You're going to love me. Just like Jennifer Hudson, you're gonna love me. It's like, no, it's not like that. It's not like that.
Yeah, I don't like it. This whole thing, I know I mentioned it, but it just rubs me raw to think that people would have the arrogance to think that what they can do can, over the ether, affect other people. That cheapens humanity to me. That cheapens that person. Why would you even? But I do like the question of, can it repair a relationship? I like this a lot because that seems like it's done for what I would think is a positive reason. That's not, can I cast a spell to fuck this chick? This is much
Oh, and
better
this
than
is
that.
beautiful,
This is
beautiful too. The same chapter
Yeah.
1, Book of the Law, chapter 24 says, beware lest any force another, king against king, love one another with burning hearts. And basically what he's saying is, do not do that. Aleister Crowley, the world's most famous Black magician who
Hedonist.
ever lived, in his penultimate book that, brought forth the ideas of Thelema, says, beware lest any force another. Let's think about that. I mean, what else can you say?
And he's right. I mean, because I would have to imagine the universe will force balance upon you. If you force another in some way, that to me leaves you open for being forced yourself on some level. I don't mean to speak vaguely on that, but if you could do it to them, how could that not be done to you?
Yeah.
Why would you wish that into your life? Why would you wish that?
And there's
debt.
even a little bit more, and I think this is really important stuff. In the Book of the Law, chapter 41, in the first chapter, it says, the word of sin is restriction. Then he says, O lover, if thou wilt, depart. There is no bond that can unite the divided but love. All else is a curse, accursed. Accursed be it to the eons. Hell. I mean, there's like no backfiring in there. It's like, dude, there's no pussyfooting whatsoever. Aleister Crowley, of all people, who did loads of sex magic, did all kinds of crazy rituals that'll blow your mind. And he's sitting there telling everybody, don't do that. There's only one thing that can unite people, and that's love. And if you do rituals for self-love, I don't mean narcissistically. I mean to work on yourself. If there's something that's wrong with you, that first off, there is something wrong with you to make you think you cannot be loved for who you are. If you are so this is my joke, but it's not a joke. I get these girls coming up to me going, Voxx, I need a really great love spell. I've got the best one. I go, what is it? I'll say, be lovable. And they go, what? What load of nonsense is that? What do you mean, be lovable? I'm like, that's right. If you want to be loved, be lovable. They think that's a trick answer. It is absolutely the
Yeah.
truth. When you say, "Hi, honey buns, can you please make me a hard-boiled egg?" and she throws an egg at your face. No, that's not being lovable. It's like,
Yeah. Step one, be lovable. Step two, don't be unlovable.
thank you. I'll have to give you credit for it.
The calculus is easy.
Yeah, and I really think my friend is going to get a lot of benefit out of this whole show. And I told him, you know what? I think it's really worth an episode on the show, and I'll send you a link. And voila, here it is. It's absolutely amazing. So, can you use Enochian magic to repair a broken relationship? Not really. First off, the relationship that has to be repaired first is the relationship you have with yourself, because somebody doesn't leave you for no reason. I'm sorry. They just don't. Astrologically, you could say, oh, yeah, well, Venus was in opposition of my Saturn, so we broke up. No, it's more than that. Venus opposing your Saturn would make you say, wow, it looks like I'm about to break up with someone. I wonder if there's anything that I might be doing that could be feeding into this. And if any of this is my fault, and if it is, I wonder what I could do to fix it. Nobody asks that question.
Yeah.
And again, the whole idea with the money magic, same thing. I've told people, here's the best money magic spell I know. Don't focus on money. Focus on what it is you want to do with that money. Focus on the visual, even in hypnotherapy, which I'm a doctor of hypnotherapy, and not the weekend certificate version.
The Calcutta School of Hypnotherapy.
Exactly. So in hypnotherapy, you find out that your mind does not understand language. It only understands pictures. That's all it does. That's it. So if you're focusing on $100,000 so you could buy a Lamborghini, right? That's not going to happen, most likely, at least magically with the theorem that I've devised. What's going to happen is, you might wind up getting into a lawsuit, or somebody dies in your family and leaves you $100,000, but it's not a Lamborghini. Plus you get an inheritance tax, which now you've only got $75,000, so you cannot afford the $100,000 Lamborghini. Pray, wish, meditate for the Lamborghini, and ask your own psychic guides and angels to present it to you in a way in which no one gets hurt. And guess what? It may not happen. What does that mean? It means God heard your prayer. He coulda, shoulda, woulda sent you a Lamborghini, but the only way you were going to get it is if Grandma kicks the bucket.
Yeah, careful what you wish for. We've gone over this monkey's paw thing before. Careful what you wish for. I'll just choose to stop wishing. It's too dangerous.
Yeah, you got to really be careful with that. I mean, I wouldn't suggest stop wishing, but I always put a caveat in there.
Right.
Also, as an initiated priestess in Wiccan covens, we learn to say, and it harm none. Meaning, give me what I want, but put the boundary at where it starts impeding on another person's free will or good fortune.
Sure.
And so
and this is much more palatable to me when I hear that. When I hear you say that, that makes it palatable to me. Yeah, this do no harm thing. Really, more people live by it. There'd be a lot less strife rather than people at all costs doing things for themselves, for the sake of themselves, and no other good.
Yeah. There's a lot of, attacks on people that are into Wicca or witchcraft, but interestingly enough, a lot of people do not know that Aleister Crowley was the person who rewrote the fragments of the Wicca papers, and all of their teachings. And he was hired literally by Gerald Gardner, the famous witch from the 40s and 50s, who is no longer with us, but he hired Crowley to rewrite all of the Wiccan rituals, and many witches and Wiccans do not, they just don't believe it. But anybody who's read enough Crowley will see all of Crowley's wording in all of the ancient witchcraft stuff. And Crowley never said, and it harm none. Crowley didn't give a crap, really. He just gave him the rituals. Nowhere did Crowley say, and it harm none. Crowley would just do what he was going to do, without boundaries. And of course, if he didn't get what he wanted, he just took it, okay, well, that's my boundary. But the witches of today, they added that in. And there's a lot of really much older witchcraft, scripture and stuff like that. But it's mostly a lot of folk craft and stuff from places like Italy, primarily some Greek, and various versions of it all over the world. But basically, the witchcraft we know today came from southern Italy in what we now call Tuscany, which was back then called Etrusca or Etruria. But digressing as always, but to just fill in the points that, ritual magic first works on the magician. And so if you work on yourself, you become more lovable, you become more palatable, you become more adaptable, makes you a better chance of obtaining the love that you want, not that deserve. We never know who deserves what, quite frankly, but it definitely opens up the net for you to attract more people. And then people say, I want an attraction spell. Oh wow, oh my God. Oh Lord.
What?
Again, attract what? Okay.
Yeah, careful.
Yeah, I've done attraction spells as a teenager and wondered why some guy tried to kidnap me off the sidewalk. Oh, you gotta say, oh yes,
I don't mean to laugh, but that's
please,
crazy.
exclude all murderers and child molesters. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You're attracting or you're not. Tell a magnet, only attract this. No, it's gonna
Right.
attract. So people think, again, remember our last episode, an abundance of headaches. What are you asking for? An abundance. I'm asking to attract. Oh, you're gonna love this one. All the letters that I get. Oh, and by the way, people should write to us at to the moon with Voxx, all one word, at gmail.com. Send your comments and questions so that your questions could be on the air. And you can also reach out to me that way and find out how to get onto one of my Discord servers, and you can ask your questions that way. But what was the other thing? Hold on. What was it? Oh yeah, the invisibility spells.
Oh gosh. Well, that's a thing.
Oh yeah, it's a thing, all right. And let me.
Yeah. Careful, cast that, and nobody will notice
Oh yeah,
you,
well, here's the
you
beauty of
know?
it. No, at no time ever has someone who's not guilty of something requested an invisibility spell. So the first thing you do is ask Voxx, what's your invisibility spell? Which, by the way, I sell them for $2,000 a pop.
But it is funny. What can you get me an invisibility spell? And it depends. What are you guilty of?
Exactly.
That might not be what you need.
But what I do is I so outrageously price the oils and the spell kits for such a thing that a person such as that cannot afford it.
Well, wait. Well, why?
Because I don't really want to be a part and parcel of a negative experience.
Oh, that just gave me a
Yeah.
question to ask you. So let's say that you are, I guess in this case I'll use the word magician. That you are the magician who puts together a particular spell kit for that person. Are you, as a person who put it together, karmically on the hook when that person casts the spell? As in other words, if you give somebody a gun and they use it to shoot somebody, there's a loose case to be made that you facilitated it. And it's a bad example, but you get my
It's
point.
a great question.
Are you on the hook when you give somebody a love spell that maybe attracts the wrong thing, or an invisibility spell that maybe conceals something that they've done? Do you face blowback from that on
I
some
would.
astral
I
level?
would if I was not conscientious, if I did not include an instruction book, if I did not counsel them ahead of time, if I did not agree to sell it to them. First off, there's only certain ones that I will sell. I make the other ones so outrageously expensive that nobody can afford it, so I'm off the hook right off the bat. Secondarily, I
Sure.
do believe that I'm on the hook. I do believe.
I would think you would be.
You
I would
wouldn't
think you would be, because they wouldn't be able to do it without your help.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but if they're getting it from me, what my clients understand is I hand make every single thing. I do not run a factory. Everything that I sell is expensive, and it's hand created, during specific astrological times, under specific, magical conditions, which is highly karmically good. And I'm not even selling it here right now. I'm not even trying to sell it. I'm just telling people, because of that, I'm already having a relationship with the person that is buying it. I don't mass market them. I don't sell them to stores. I have to decide with my vibe, who is this person that I'm giving it to? I usually request a person submit their astrological information to me so I can see what it is that they're dealing with that makes them need that spell. And ordinarily, I'm going to say 99.9%, I usually tell a person, you don't need a spell. You just need to wait out this terrible aspect and, give them the right information. They still want to do it. I also sell the instructions for them to do it. But I won't give out information that's going to hurt someone. I will not do it. That's why I started my own Goetia server, Goetia Magic. You cannot believe the insanity of the stuff people do in rituals to conjure spirits. You would not believe it. You'd have to go onto Reddit and see for yourself. It would just blow your mind.
I would be very, very leery. I know I'm a bit risk averse when it comes to things like this. I would never actually pursue that track for my own benefit or for anyone else's benefit.
The reason that I go on, and I'm actually a moderator on several of the different subreddits, is because I see so much damage, psychological damage, to people from thinking that they know how to conjure spirits correctly. 99% of every person that I questioned, carefully and nicely as possible. Oh, really? What ritual did you do? And like, oh, what time did you do it? And under what aspects did you do it? They're like, oh no, I conjured, Boone at midnight, with some crow's blood. And I'm like, oh my God. Well, Boone is the spirit you can only call up only about 7 different days of the entire month. And the moon has to be waxing, and you have to do it in a very particular way, or I'm guaranteeing you the spirit's not going to show up.
But will somebody show up in his stead?
No, nothing.
Okay, so it's nothing will
happen. In fact, basically, you're deluding yourself. That's way more dangerous than if a spirit showed up. Okay, so the basic idea is, I already know that they didn't do the ritual right, and then I wrote, oh, so did you read the Lemegeton? Which is the only book that it was written. And I went, oh no, that's nonsense. No, I don't want to read that. It's like, okay. Do you think I'm going to question that person further?
No. Well, I don't see the value.
Do you think I'm going to invite them to my server? I put a stop on the invitations because the level of insanity was off the hook. It was off the hook.
Well, and that brings up this whole notion of knowing just enough to be dangerous. And this seems to be a part of the human condition that doesn't just extend to magic or to, I don't know, actions you might predicate on astrological aspects when you only know enough to have a notion of something, but you don't have the full story. It's like jumping off a cliff without a parachute and just hoping you'll fly.
The problem is, only basically emotionally and psychologically unstable people try to do this. I literally have a new student whose name I will not divulge, and I don't think he would mind for me saying this, but his whole situation completely illustrates what I'm just talking about here. He had been dealing with a particular Goetic symbol, and also known as a spirit seal, and he was like sleeping with it, living with it, and really vibing with it 24/7, and he literally had thrown himself into literal schizophrenia. And really, really bad situation for him. And literally, this is a person who wanted to be my student. And you know what I told him? I said, I would suggest you leave magic completely alone. What teacher would tell you that?
An honest one.
I said, you know what? Run. Just run. Anyway, I'll just synopsize that and just say, basically, he threw himself into full-blown schizophrenia and, was on meds and everything. And I told him, honestly, really, you should not be conjuring spirits. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Because the thing is that even dealing with angels, thinking that you're conjuring an angel, well, the worst thing that could happen is, you'll be deluded, Oh, I know one thing that we were talking about before is the invisibility spell. Now, you want to hear a true story?
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
Literally had a very good friend, and She prayed to have children for many, many years, and she just couldn't make it happen. Finally, she went to a certain doctor, did the things I told her about insemination, IVF, all this kind of stuff, and it worked. She wound up having a beautiful daughter. And then I think it was like about a couple of years later, she gets this phone call. And this woman says, your insurance did not cover this. This was like a $25,000 to $50,000 procedure. You owe us, $50,000. And it was
Wow.
just insane. And she calls me up. She goes, Voxx, oh my God, what am I going to do? And the first thing that came to my mind was invisibility spell. And there's a particular spirit named Baal, which was literally ancient times, the absolute first god that was ever created. He's identified with Shiva, the destroyer, and the cosmic dancer, right? And basically, he's been relegated to a demonic status, and he technically rules the idea of invisibility for various reasons. So anyway, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is a hardcore situation. I got to call it the big guns. And I told her what to do, told her what candle to burn. It's just a very simple, it was not difficult at all. It was like a one candle, one wish, told her to eat something very specific at a certain time of day, kind of as a communion with the spirit. She didn't lay down a circle. She didn't do anything. She just did what I told her. And the woman had told her before she hung up, she said, we need to hear back from you tomorrow by 12 o'clock noon. And my friend was like, oh my God, I'm having a nervous breakdown. But she did the ritual. She called the woman back at 12 o'clock as she had been told to do. And they say something like, Amgen Services or whatever the hell company it was. And she goes, may I speak to Mrs. So-and-so? And the operator said, who? And she goes, person so-and-so. She told me to call her back at this time, this day, blah, 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 about this bill, blah, blah, blah. And the person goes back and comes back to the phone and says, I don't know who you're talking about. There is no such person. No such person with that name has ever worked here. All right, now this was like 30 years ago. Okay, it's not like it was a robocall. Okay, this person doesn't exist, has never existed. If they did exist, they never worked here. We don't know what you're talking about. We do not possess a file for you.
I hang up the phone and cheer.
And she goes, well, anything else that you need? And she goes, no, thank you very much. Never heard from them again, as God is my witness. Okay, true story. Second story. Okay, somebody else wanted to do this, and they weren't trying to do anything negative, but they needed some help avoiding somebody. And of course, their car got rear-ended, and they sustained some minor injuries. And then they were told by the driver who hit them that they just didn't see them. I don't know where your car came from. I just didn't see it. I'm like, okay, well, we'll be shelving that spell. So when people ask me for it, I'm like, are you worried you could be killed? No, I'm not going to give you the spell. Do what you're going to do on your own. I have nothing to do with it. So when you ask me, do I feel karmically responsible? The answer is yes, I do.
And I would think that you would. If you were a responsible magician, I would think you would take that into account.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. So yeah, answering several questions, yes, I feel that I'm karmically involved. Another thing I've noticed is the people that come to me seem to have very similar charts. It's almost like I'm the person, if you have this in your chart, you're going to contact me. And it's the first thing I look for in every chart that comes to me.
That's interesting. That's super interesting. Could you say what that aspect is? Yeah. I'm curious.
You only have one guess.
Why don't we do something to the effect of a Mercury and Cancer vibe?
19 degrees Scorpio.
Oh, God. Once again. 19 degrees Scorpio rears its head.
So I'm looking at this chart going, gee, I wonder why they're calling me. Like, oh, okay. And sometimes one of their main planets will be at an exact aspect to one of my planets, meaning that I'm the perfect person for them to call. Which I can't believe I'm going to tell people this, but I really don't even advertise. I don't. It's just not what I do. I have never advertised. I always thought, whoever's supposed to talk to me is going to talk to me. And almost every person that's come to me has been referred, almost without fail.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, if somebody really loves you, they'll give you my phone number. If they really don't love you, they're not. If they know about me and you're in trouble and they don't give you my phone number, you know who you're dealing with. Is that person's benefiting from your suffering. And they don't want you to know who I am. So, que sera, sera. But yeah, without fail. So these are different kinds of ideas regarding magical spells, how they evolve, how they ultimately manifest.
So let me ask you something that goes back to an earlier conversation that we had about the Freemasons, but just about Masons in general, I guess. When you said something about they were creating satanic pentagrams in the architecture of the Capitol, which turned out to be completely true, did they also dabble in other metaphysical things like spellcraft? And because we know astrology was strong, extremely strong with them. But were these the guys that guarded the Holy Grail?
No, those are the Templars. Oh man, I have just come up with some incredible, as people are calling them now, downloads, uploads, psychic downloads, that you just pick up and you just know things. I don't know how else to say it. There's a word for it called clairsentience. Like just sometimes I'll just know something. I'm like, where did that come from? It's not even based on a typical Voxx segue. It's like a random piece of information that I never even thought of.
Sure.
And the reason I bring it up, I've been watching some stuff with the Templars, and I'm realizing just now that I do not believe the Templars were ever looking for the Grail whatsoever. Period.
So what's the energy behind that statement? Because my understanding is they were the guardians of it, not that they were looking for it.
No, they're not. And you know what? People that are actually initiated into Freemasonry, which by the way, women are not allowed. That's interesting to me. Even though I was initiated at the temple. That's a whole other weird situation. But I think they used that as the excuse to walk into situations without reservation. Like nobody gave them any nonsense about it. Oh, okay, you're looking for the Grail. Okay, come right in. I think that was a total lie. And after more and more of information I'm seeing about it, I'm really inclined to believe it. Now, even groups like the OTO, the Oriental Templars of the East, or the Order of the Templars of the East, all that was all the sex magic and the information about tantric magic, which is what they were supposedly really into. I think it's really interesting how they went into all these different countries, Turkey, all these places all over the world, and just had carte blanche to just walk in, desecrate everything under the auspices of, converting people to Catholicism. It came to me like, there's no way that that is real.
Well, was the Holy Grail real, or was this
I think it was all a ruse. I think that's what they say, but that is not what it's about.
So then, what was in the Holy of Holies? Like, what was in this? What is this Christian artifact that's held in such high regard? Is it the notion of the
Yeah,
artifact?
there's
I
actually a really
understand.
great book. Can't remember the name of it now. Yeah,
Holy Blood, Holy
I mean, I
Grail.
read that the day it came out. Basically, the
Yeah.
Grail was Guinevere slash, the idea of the Blessed Virgin and the blood of Christ. The cup is technically the physical vehicle that holds the blood of Christ, and that is actually a human being, a line of human beings. It is not a physical artifact.
So, do you think that the bloodline? So, did Jesus have
Yeah.
a bloodline? Because, to my knowledge, he never had
Oh
children,
no,
did he?
apparently he did. And if you read that book, you'll find out about it. Interesting thing is, yes, he does. Jesus Christ has a living bloodline on our planet right now. Absolutely.
That's interesting.
And his family is not so much flourishing. And you're going to love this. And whereas born in Ethiopia, all right, the king, Haile Selassie, his his African name is Ras Tanura / actually his, Hebraic name. It's like Ras Tanura. Okay. Now, he is the person that Rastafarians worship. Rasta, R-A-S, is lion. And the line of Judah, all of the line of the kings is the Judaic line. The line of Judah is where all of the kings of the Jewish religion came from the line of Judah. Like all of their priests came from the line of Levi.
So are we saying that the line of kings is the blood of Christ?
Jesus. Huh. Now here's the problem. The Jews don't believe that Jesus was the Christ.
Well, they don't believe that he was the Moshiach, I thought.
But Christ means the anointed one, which Moshiach also means. And the Christians stole the idea. Imagine that your cat. I have decided that your cat is my God. His name.
Right. I see where you're going with this.
Tell my followers Abites. It's like, and you're like, it's just my freaking cat. And I'm like, your cat is the cat of the universe. Now, none of the other cats believe that. Right. You're this person that's stolen an idea, put your stamp of whatever you believe onto that idea, and now you're worshiping it. Okay? Now, the Rastas worship Haile Selassie. Here's the thing. Haile Selassie, who my mother actually met before she had me. I was literally born there. I was conceived there in Ethiopia. I was born there. I also grew up in a place called Ras Tanura. Excuse me, his name was Ras Tafari. And here's the deal. I grew up in Ras Tanura, in Arabia. And he was named Ras Tafari, king of Tafari. So the Rastafarians, are correct.
Wait. I'm sorry. So the word Raz is king in what language? Okay, and furthermore, that was Batman. The guy who trained Batman was Ra's al Ghul. So it looks like maybe that was grounded in some...
So Rastafari, what does Rastafari mean? Derives from the word Ras Tafari Makonnen, the pre-king title of Haile Selassie. What does Rastafari mean? Ras literally means head, like the head of.
Okay.
All right, so the name Tafari means he who inspires awe. It was the last king of Ethiopia. He got blamed for the drought in 1984 and was exiled with his entire family.
And I think Ethiopia still has a large Coptic Christian population.
Ethiopia was the cradle of Christianity, and Ethiopia was originally called Abyssinia. Anyway, the basic idea is you have Rastafari, not Ras Tanura. That's where I grew up, straight across the pond, basically. So when a person is Rastafarian, they're actually more Christian than Catholics. They're worshiping the physical bloodline of Jesus. We don't know if he was Christ or not. We don't know that because Christ is a title. Christ comes from the Greek word Christos, meaning anointed one, derived from Greek verb meaning to anoint. The Hebrews call it Messiah, also Moshiach.
Well, they rejected him, and then later they rejected Muhammad. The Jews are just rejecting all kinds of prophets. Who are they waiting on?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, who is that? Who is that fabled person? I wonder, because they're, maybe they're right,
Okay, this is really interesting. And in chapter 1, I do believe, chapter 1, Book of the Law, Thelemic reference point.
I couldn't get her to fall in love with me. That's why my doctor prescribed Thelema.
Oh my God, we need to do some... Dude, let's make some fake commercials.
I can't wait to hear the side effects.
Okay, check this out. Chapter 1, verse 56 of the Book of the Law, by Aleister Crowley, channeling Aiwass, says in 56, expect him not from the east, nor from the west, for from no expected house cometh that child. All words are sacred, all prophets are true, save only that they understand a little. So even Crowley's saying, pay attention to your prophets.
Yeah, and there's more than one.
There's more than one.
There's every reason to believe that Muhammad was the same type of prophet that Jesus was. Doesn't matter that he came 1,600 years later, There's every reason to believe it when you just look at the impact his footprint has had on the
Yeah.
world.
And so we're talking about the
There
whole
it is.
idea, of Jesus, Rastafari, the bloodline. And we were talking about the Templars, and I'm saying I think that that was a ruse. I do not believe whatsoever that they were ever looking for the Grail, ever.
So a ruse to gain access to territories where they would then spread the word of
Yeah,
Christianity? So that
I
was the
think,
goal, was
yeah,
Christian expansion.
absolutely.
Huh. Well, that's definitely not
And
in the
listen,
narrative,
well, guess
but
what? Maybe I'm a prophet. I'm starting to think that that might be true.
voxtheprophet.org. You know what I want to know? I want to know if you can register to be a nonprofit with
Yeah.
the U.S. government to get a tax break, because technically,
Yeah, I actually wrote a book called
nonprofit.
The Book of the
There
Nonprofit. Prophet.
is
Yeah,
it
I really
really?
did. 1986, The Book of the Nonprofit, Prophet, literally.
Yeah.
And it's full. It's a complete book. It's a collage. It's pretty interesting. But getting back to the point, the idea is, so what was the Grail? What does the Grail hold?
I think the Grail holds. Oh wait, okay. You asked me what I know from what you've told
Well,
me.
no, I'm just asking just for you to guess.
I would think that the Grail would be a chalice that Jesus drank from. Oh, but wait, but then again, it could be a metaphor for
That's
something completely
absolutely
different.
correct. But can you see back at that time, it was only about 1,300 years after the supposed death of Jesus that they went looking for it? Wait a minute. Why didn't you start looking after, like, the week later?
Well, hold on though. What was it not in? Going back to the Solomon's Temple thing that we briefly discussed, was it not in the Holy of Holies? Was the Grail not in
Well,
that
let's find
room?
out. Let's ask the tarot. Let's
I
ask
feel,
the tarot. And
yeah.
what's the technical question?
Uh, well, it can't be. Was the Grail real? Because it's real. We're making it real just by
Well,
ascribing it,
is it
just by
is it
talking about
what
it.
they were suggesting that it was?
And I want to know if it was in the temple. What was in that temple?
And which one? Solomon's Temple?
Solomon's Temple.
What was the magical artifact in the Temple of Solomon? Wow. Oh my God.
Was it the Ace of Cups? I'll
No.
flip.
It's the fool, Parsifal. He was the one who found the
His name's
Grail.
Parsifal?
Parsifal. Now let's think about that name. What are you doing when you're doing computer commands? How does a computer speak? It parses.
Sure.
Okay, Parsifal. Think about that. I
So
have.
this is a person?
Parsifal was the person who supposedly found it when King Arthur was looking for it and he couldn't find it.
Where did he
And
find it?
supposedly Guinevere was the metaphor or the person who supposedly was the Grail because she was the mother of the line.
Oh,
This
and
is
then
really getting, look, dude, this is really getting deep. The name Arthur means bear. Okay? King
and what name?
Arthur, the bear, okay? Arcturus.
Okay.
What is the Holy Grail? What is it? And that's the 8 of discs, knowledge.
Sure. And knowledge is
Knowledge
priceless.
knowledge and patience are the Grail. That's the
So,
real Grail.
in a very real sense, knowledge is priceless. So, I mean, depending what the knowledge is, right? You can't put a value on things that are important for you to know.
In other words, though, the 8 of discs does not describe an object. It
Right.
implies a process. That process is study and wisdom. And is this really interesting because the person who supposedly found the Grail was Parsifal, and the entire Parsifal opera written by Wagner is all about this. And so who finds the greatest wisdom? The fool. Arthur couldn't find the Grail. Parsifal had a vision and went straight to it, whatever it was. In other words, it's not about like earthly knowledge. It's about some kind of spiritual information, some kind of spiritual knowledge that takes a person there. And all of the mundane people that are searching for it never find it.
Right. Well, going back to what you said, you can have everything you want once you quit wanting it, or you said it better than I did. You'll find it when you're not looking for it, basically.
Yeah, basically. So, but we're asking, what was the real purpose of the Templars? That's a really good. Oh my God.
So what is it?
The lust card. It's just pure desire to conquer. Just pure, unadulterated, I think, massacre. Now, check this out. That you know that they call it the Grail, but it's also called the Sangreal. Have you heard of that word?
No, but isn't that blood? Isn't that have something to do with blood?
Yeah. Grail of blood. What is a grail of blood? It's a body. Again, okay? And literally, the lust card shows a grail in the form of female anatomy that holds a child. Very strange. And also, the Leo card indicates it's a dramatization of something else.
Interesting. That is very
Yeah.
interesting.
Leo rules actors. Here's a trick question. What would the head of the original Templars have to say? All right, Jacques de Molay. What would he have to
Okay.
say about what I just said? Four of Wands is Venus and Aries. He would say, he would avoid it. He would say, oh no, that's wrong. Yeah, of course he would. But
You're not supposed to know this.
he also got burnt at the stake in 1313. So I
Oof.
wouldn't take any like tips from him
Well,
about.
that's a rough story, right? Because didn't that have something to do with them being money changers at the time and controlling a lot of money, a lot of royal debt as it was, and rather than pay off his debt, didn't the king kill them instead?
Yeah, that's one aspect of it. But what we're really looking at is, what is the Grail? What is it really? I mean, seriously, what is it?
A representation.
Yeah, you get the adjustment card. Whatever it is that you seek with desire and lust and one focused attention is your Grail. What is your Grail? Maybe it differs from man to man, but what they were doing is, I still stick to my thought. It'll be fun to find out what one of your friends says about this, because I'm just saying it was not what it appeared to be. It was a carte blanche license to go all over the world and say, we're on a holy mission, like the Blues Brothers, we're on a mission from God. Just open your country or we'll kill you because we're looking for something and we think you might have it. But oh, it's a grail. What is it? Oh, yeah. Jesus drank from it, like, 300 years ago, or like, 1,300 years ago. Can you find the same coffee cup that you used 5 years ago?
No.
I can't. Let's
So
let's just add a few thousand years to that and see if you get any better luck.
yeah, really. But they did find the Dead Sea Scrolls, 2,000 years later. So
Oh,
there's
excuse me. That's another question. Are the Dead Sea Scrolls like real?
I 100% believe they are.
Guess what?
What?
The Queen of Cups says some of them are. Some
Huh.
of them come from the time in which they were purported to have been written. Most of it not.
Hmm.
Now, I'm making a prediction there that one day people will find out what I'm talking about.
So what
So,
about the Shroud of Turin? Is that real?
no.
Ah.
Check it out. Knight of Discs. No. It's
So
a
why
remnant,
no?
it's a remnant of something from a bygone time, but is not, it will not prove the carbon date to be correct. These are predictions. These are psychic statements made with the tarot. This has got nothing to do with me or my beliefs.
Hold on then. Then what is real?
That's a whole other question.
I
What
know,
is?
but now it's starting to become an important one because all these things that are foundational, or at least in a minor way, to Christianity are proving to be a bit more complicated than we have been told.
Yeah. And basically, the Princess of Discs says what you are referring to as quote unquote real are physical remnants of something that somebody else has decided to state as a fact. And because they can show something physical that's being described, we are inclined to believe it. That's correct.
Right. Well, I'll believe it when I see it. There is this axiom holds true in most situations. I'll believe it when I see it. Wait, is that an axiom or an idiom? Voxx, what is the difference between an axiom and an idiom? An axiom is like a stitch in time saves nine, and an idiom is what?
Yeah, an axiom is a statement that's regarded as being established.
Okay, so in other words, fire is hot. That's an axiom. Like it's been
An
established.
an idiom is a group of words established by usage as having a meaning not deducible from those of the individual words, like it's raining cats and dogs. Or I see
Okay.
why. One of the tricks is that it's an idiom, which makes it seem like it's kind of foolish. It's not something that actually exists.
Like metaphors are idioms then.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Whereas an
here's
axiom is just a statement of fact.
and Vox the Psychic is saying no, because I got the Princess of, no, I got the Knight of Discs. It's something that was there. Somebody found it and decided to label it as such. Now, when I go online, ask, is the Shroud of Turin real? It says, although numerous reports mention image of his head, blah, 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 of unknown origin, there is no historical evidence that these refer to the shroud currently at Turin Cathedral. So I'm saying psychically, it's BS. Now I'm looking at the facts that have been reported, even though I said everything that we know.
Yeah, we have the saying in my field, trust but verify. I think it's an actual Soviet saying, but it's an important thing. If somebody just comes up to me with a bit of information, it has to do with what I do for a living. I don't take it at face value. I'll trust you, but I'm going to check it out.
Oh, yeah. And check this out. But I'm stating these things based on an entire lifetime of studying the Kabbalah, numerology, astrology, and the tarot.
Right. That's the same thing applying to the Harvard guy. It's the exact same thing with you. I was going to bring that up too. You know, that's time spent. That's experience that's time in grade. That's what we call a subject matter expert. You know,
Right.
you're not born, you're made.
I do have a certificate of, certified grandmaster of the tarot, which means I've read over 10,000 people and I've got the documentation to prove it. And I've, as a teacher that spent thousands of hours teaching people how to read, I have the time, energy, and effort behind it. But there's no scientific proof that I know how to read the tarot. The only proof that I have is I've read a million people and they keep coming back to me and getting another reading and saying everything else I told them actually happened. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't have a Yale degree in this. There's no such thing.
Right.
But I'm stating this information before I look it up. And it matches the information that somebody went to Harvard to get. And I'm pulling a single card of a deck of tarot cards of 78 cards. But with the internal expertise of saying, no, it says it's BS. It says, yeah, it may be an old piece of fabric from a time, and it may be somebody's face on it. But let's get real. Who just gets all bloody and dirty and greasy and has somebody place very carefully a cloth over them in such a way that it makes a huge shroud that has a human's secretions on it that can be proven to be however many thousands of years old. That tells me somebody decided when they created it that that's what they were going to call it. So that's the scam, not the fact that somebody right now is believing it. Whoever created it for people to think that exact thing.
Man, and people have been doing this since time immemorial. The long con. I swear.
Yeah.
Well, Voxx, the crows are calling.
They are. And why would they be doing that? You can't trust those damn crows.
Trust but verify. Are you sure, crows?
Well, anyway, this has been a rollicking ride. I think everybody can tell we don't ever know what we're going to talk about till we start talking about astrology, and one thing leads to the other as it does. But anyway, you guys, that's it for now. Thanks for listening to another crazy episode of To the Moon with Voxx. I'd like to take a second to thank my new patrons, Taz and Clyde. Make sure to follow me on social media by visiting voxx.org/contact. That's voxx.org/contact. And if you have any questions or comments, give me a call at 307-212-8239. That's our special number. You can also write with your questions at tothemoonwithvoxx, all one word, @gmail.com. Till next week, have a mystical, magical day.